Hello YouTube pedal people nerd community. Well, I've been dreading to do this video because it's gonna be big, so I'll try to condense it as much as I possibly can. I'm going to skip playing over a track because I kind of have done that in the beginning, and how do you show 4 pedals with all their functions over context? This video would be 2 hours long, because you know I do it thoroughly. So, today, Mooer pedals. No worries, I'm not getting paid by them. This is purely, you know, they gave me the t-shirt and said, hey, wear it because it would be cool. And they're right, it would be cool. We have all 4 pedals, all 4 delays that Mooer makes. So if you think Mooer is the company for you for a delay, but you're still kind of undecided which one to go for, this is going to be the solution video for you. So stay tuned, watch, and then buy. Again, I'm not getting paid. I always gotta say that because I get a lot of questions. So, let's look at the differences of the pedals. In general, I'm gonna say quickly something about the pedals. They're very tiny, very cool, small pedals. No battery. They have only 9V DC on the top. As you can see here, we have really cool little Mooer connectors, which if you use more pedals, they fit perfectly in position next to each other, so no shifting. It's great. The pedals have a rubber foot, so they don't slip, which is very nice. I don't like it when pedals are just metal at the bottom because, of course, it's easier to put them on a pedal board, but what if you don't have a pedal board? So this is great, and from now on, you can see all the little marks I made on the mini knobs, so you can actually see in the video how they're set. I painted those in myself, but from now on, they're actually going to be like this from the factory. Very nice, because no company doing the mini pedals does that, so that is very good. Also, they will all be serialized. So on the pedal as well as the box is a serial number, so they can track the pedal and can tell you when it was sold and all this stuff. So should there ever be a problem with one of your pedals, Mooer can help you track it down. To the setup, today I'm using an Ibanez Gem, you know the guitar, very beautiful modern Strat with the Floyd Rose, low Pro Edge from Ibanez. We have the Evolution pickups, we have big fat humbuckers. But the beautiful thing are the in-between sounds. We have a single coil. The back in-between sound is beautiful. Of course, the back humbucker. This is going into the PRS SE20. Okay, I'm lying, excuse me. It is first going into, at my feet, because, you know, it's not part of this video, the Mooer Mrs. Distortion, a high gain overdrive, which by itself sounds like this. Nice pedal. I don't have a Mooer overdrive or a Mooer distortion right now, so I'm gonna use the Mooer because, hey, they're great. This is actually the pre-production model. You can't buy it yet. Mrs. Distortion coming up to some dealer near you whenever it's done. And that's going into the AnaEcho, the Echolizer, the Reecho, and then the repeater. So from right to left, which is how your pedal chain would be, because usually, you know, the right is the input. It's the shortest to longest delay time. So the AnaEcho is clocking in at 300 milliseconds, Echolizer at 600 milliseconds, Reecho at 780 top delay time, and the repeater at a full second with 1000 milliseconds. And this is going into the other room where we have the PRS SE20 amp, and that's going down into the basement into the Igniter 112 cab, which is mic'd with an SM57 and an MXL R144 ribbon mic. Those two will be mixed together after they ran through the Universal Audio 4710D mic preamp on solid state. And that's going into Cubase 7.5. Okay, right now they're powered with a Harley Benton power supply thingy starting next week because I don't like this one too much. Starting next week, we're gonna go for the Carl Martin Pro Power because Carl Martin is sending me stuff and I'm very, very psyched about this. So finally, we're gonna have a very high-class power supply driving all these pedals. And of course, we'll have the Plexitone and the Headroom, which will be two very, very cool boutique-style pedals, which I will be testing. So, of course, Mooer, let me say that, has a tiny power supply about the size of one of these pedals with 8 outputs, which I'm very eager to test. They sadly didn't have any at the trade show in Frankfurt, so I hope they're gonna send me one so we can look at it, because that looks very promising. Which is cool with Mooer is you can see on the color of the light whether your pedal is digital or analog design. So a digital design would be blue, which is 3 of them actually. Analog design would be red. So we've got one true analog delay pedal and the other pedals achieving the delay effect with digital technology. Hey, screw that, we don't need a comparison video, just buy all 4 of them and do that. I think that would be cool. Well, I like that sound. So, let's look at the differences. Again, 300 milliseconds, 600 milliseconds, 780 milliseconds, and 1 second on the repeater. The AnaEcho is a true analog delay, which means a BBD, Bucket Brigade delay. I read up on that, and it's something about, a transistor thing with a clock source, and you change the clock time with the delay knob, and that is passing on, it's pretty much delaying the signal. Something like that. It is analog, okay? And a digital delay is achieved with something with a shifter, something, I don't know. I'm a guitar player. What do I know about little fiddly things and pedals? AnaEcho, truly analog delay. But the problem with long delay times is with the Bucket Brigade delay, they're harder or probably more expensive to achieve because you need more buckets. You need more buckets, apparently. Bucket Brigade, you need more buckets. And a bucket is expensive. So no long delay times on an truly analog delay, so 300 milliseconds is the top you can get. Now the Echolizer is doing nothing but giving you the sound of an analog delay, but achieved digitally, but you have the benefit of getting 600 milliseconds of delay time. The Reecho is also digital, but has 3 different modes. So you have, again, the analog mode, which we will compare to the 2 analog sounding delays. You have the real echo mode in the middle switch, which means it's supposed to simulate the sound of a real delay in nature. Of course, it very highly depends on if you're in the mountains or in your bathroom, so I don't quite know what they modeled there. And what I very much like is, at the very bottom position, a tape echo. It's the only delay from Mooer that can give the tape echo effect, which was back then achieved by pretty much just having a piece of tape. You kids remember tape? No, you don't remember tape. Magnetic tape. And it was pretty much going around on a spool. So you recorded your guitar sound here, it went around, and it was read back here by the read head. Right head, read head. And how far they were spaced apart from each other determined your delay time. So the read head was actually movable, and that was your delay time. And there were even models like the Space Echo from Roland, which had several read heads, and you had a tap delay, you had a multi-tap. Usually, of course, the degradation of the tape will mean that your delay is not exactly like what you played in. Actually, none of these, except for the repeater, will give you a copy of your sound. So there's delays that call this copy, or just purely digital delay. When I hear digital delay, I'm thinking it sounds like a mirror image of what I played. Of course, that is not true, because these are also digital, but they don't give you this. So they're calling this repeater. Joyo on their DC called it a copy. However you want to call it, it's the delay that The Edge from U2 made famous, pretty much adding notes that sound exactly like the notes that you played in, just getting softer, possibly. That's what the repeater does. It does it in the middle position, plain copy. And at the bottom, it's a kill dry switch, meaning you only hear the delayed signal. And I thought, well, that's kind of, just for a cool sound without the guitar, and you only hear the delay signal. No, I read on their website, it's of course for a parallel effects loop, where you don't have your original in there, you only have the delay. Because, of course, in a parallel loop, your original gets passed by. So that is very clever, and I don't think a lot of people think of this. And then you have the mod setting, which will give you a slight chorusing on the delayed sound, which is great for clean sounds. So, enough of that. We're gonna look at them now. No, listen to them. We're gonna start with the AnaEcho. Please notice the repeater says D.time, so delay time. Reecho and Echolizer read time, which on all of them means to the right, you increase the amount of time, so your delay gets longer. Careful on the AnaEcho, it's counter-intuitive, because really haven't seen that so far. It says rate, so turning it to the right makes it faster, meaning shorter delay time. So the longest delay time at 300 milliseconds you have actually all the way to the left. All the other controls are the same. You have intensitivity, intensivity, and echo meaning the level. Here you've got feedback, which is the same as intensity, that's a word. And echo is the level again, feedback and echo level, and feedback and level. They kind of couldn't decide on what to call it that, so some has echo level, some has echo, some has level. Whatever. So we're going to start with AnaEcho on short, and let's just listen to one repeat. Less high-end than the original, but that is typical for a bucket brigade delay and a true analog delay. This one, for me, is for smearing and smoothing a lead sound. It's not really for the typical delay effect. We can try it. Works for that, but it's more, I think, a in the background and you don't quite know that it's on until you turn it off effect. Here you really start to hear the analogness of it, the analogidity. Going nicely into a feedback, so be careful where you... Oops, and we're gonna do this with some lead tone. for, you know, your lead sound, your bluesy sound, probably, you know, in the absence of a reverb, maybe. Of course, shorter. So let's see how it compares to the Echolizer in sound. What the Echolizer will give you is, again, the digital version of it, but also doing an analog delay. So it's supposed to sound like an analog delay, but in longer. Let's do one of them, quite loud. Let's compare that. Sounds pretty much the same to me. I mean, from here where I'm sitting, maybe the tiniest difference, but who can hear that, really? Maybe a little bit better separation of the notes on the Echolizer, but that's really just probably not really. Let's crank up the intensity to about the same at a similar speed. The roll-off is slightly different. I mean, it is a very tiny difference if you ask me. No, there's actually more high end coming through and more high pass filter at the end. So the lows get cut out more on the Echolizer on higher feedbacks, which I think could be nice because it's not fattening your sound. I think the AnaEcho will keep your sound on the delay side a lot rounder and fatter in the low end, whereas the Echolizer on higher feedbacks thins out your sound and probably sounds less muddy. Yes, the sound stays more intact with the AnaEcho. Let's crank it up even more. I'm thinking this thins out a lot more. So on higher feedback settings, it has a different sound, and of course it can go up to 600 milliseconds of delay time, which will sound like this. So let's go similar setting and compare. Yeah. AnaEcho definitely darker and leaves more low end in there. So if you're out for the truly, if you're looking for the truly analog sound, these two will give you the analog delay sound, nothing else, just one setting, with a slightly different flavor. For me personally, AnaEcho will give you a thicker, more muddy sound, depending on what kind of guitar you're playing. If you're playing a single coil guitar, that might not be bad. I'm thinking if your guitar is fat anyway and your sound is tending to be thick and muddy, the Echolizer might be your choice. Of course, if you want longer delay times to get actual delay effects, along the lines of something like this. So then this is your puppy. Let's go on to the multi-switchable one. So we got the Reecho with 780 milliseconds. And we're gonna go to analog. Oh no, we gotta do this again. So let's look at the maximum delay time first for 1. I'm sorry, folks, but you know, hey, what can you do? If you compare, then you compare and you do it right. Well, there's no delay. Why? Well, you have to turn it on. Immediately you notice longer delay time. Let's try to get the setting to be similar. Please notice, this is interesting, the Echolizer has 600 milliseconds. The Reecho has 780 milliseconds. Yet, it seems that this seems to be about 300, and this seems to be 300, which doesn't make an awful lot of sense. The Reecho should actually be below this. So, be warned that the knobs don't seem to be linear. Okay? You gotta play it by ear, of course. You know, there's no tap tempo anyway. But I would think that this knob should be further to the left to achieve the same kind of delay time. For one delay, they sound all the same to me. I seem to feel that the Echolizer is a little bit more precise on the echoes, but that might just be my head going cuckoo. really, I'm thinking very, very, very similar. So if you want something simple, then probably Echolizer when it comes to the analog delay, unless you want something that smears more. But if you also want the option to switch around, I'm thinking the Reecho will probably give you what the Echolizer can do plus more. So of course that's up to you. Yeah, the Echolizer feels as if it's more ploppy, as if the delays are actually more präsent in German, more there, okay? Yes, the Reecho's delays are more washed out. They're a little bit more washed out than the Echolizer. I mean, these are tiny differences, and of course, if you play in a crowded pub, who cares? But hey, I'm here to tell you these things. So let's look at the real echo setting of the Reecho. Well, you gotta turn it on again. Boom! Instead of cutting off the low end slowly and keeping more of the high end, this will actually cut more of the high end and keep more of the low end. Very clearly cutting out the high end, more like the AnaEcho. Going to the tape simulation, which I really like because it's really cutting out the low end. See, it gets very thin and a little bit fluttery at the end. Because you can probably feedback it. Okay, let's look at a real application of this, okay? I love tape delay for solos because it's there, but it's not so muddy because the low end relatively quickly disappears. Something like this would be great for a, floaty, singy solo. The real echo keeps it fatter. It's not so apparent because it's not in the high end. It kind of keeps together with the original note. So the tape delay will give you a little bit more of the feeling that you're playing with the reverb, whereas the real echo will just fatten your sound. Let's go back to tape and compare it with the Echolizer. I mean, you really can't, because that's really not fair, but we'll do it anyway. Whoa, this is a tough one. It should get easier when we look at the repeater. And clean. Because the repeater really does exactly that at the maximum amount of time. As you can very clearly hear, the repeater doesn't change the sound of your signal. That is what a digital or copy kind of delay does. The good old TC 22, the big-ass rack delay that everyone used for years and years and years, that did exactly that. That is what made the Edge so big. You know, the Edge guy from U2, you know? Big delay fan. So that is, of course, the sound that you can use to do a trick that I really like to do. Oh, you gotta turn up. Get the level up to where it is pretty much where your original delay is. A little bit feedback. So you set the delay to dotted eighth notes and you're playing straight eighth notes, which means the 16th in between will be filled by the delay. You get the idea, and that is best achieved with a digital delay or a copy delay. What this puppy will do on major. What is very, very nice, I love modulation delays. If the modulation is picked subtly, this is great. So if it's not like wee 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 chorusing, but very subtle, this is beautiful. Oh, come the fuck on! Nice! Seriously, way cool. And then there's the kill dry, which doesn't make a lot of sense outside of a parallel effects loop, but it does this. Probably now looks as if the video is out of sync, but it's not. It just kills my dry signal. Feels like I'm Doctor Who, you know? Out of time, out of sync, wibbly wobbly timey-wimey. And if you don't know this, what kind of nerd are you? Come on. So, I'm thinking, of course, the best thing to do is get all of them and put them behind each other in really cool, you know, settings. Now, why does this sound like a reverb? Well, if you've watched the Shimverb and Skyverb comparison video, you have realized that a reverb is nothing but different timed delays coming back at different times from the walls of the room or your environment. So if you have delays at different times, what you will have is a reverb. So right now we have, of course, 4 different delays at different times with different feedbacks at different kind of sounds. So it'll sound as if the walls have different kind of materials. And that will result in nothing but a lush reverb sound. So if we get the volumes down a bit, we have a reverb. A little bit of delay, of course. You know, this is pretty long here. There we go. Please notice that I have 5 pedals on, including in high gain distortion, and that the amount of noise is pretty much, you know, neglectable. There's a little bit, I mean. So all of them are on, but they're very clean, of course, through bypass pedals. Wow! Okay. I guess it is up to you to decide which one you want. I cannot help you any more than I've helped you. They're all, of course, under €100. So if you want something simple, go for simple. If you want more options, possibly go to the Reecho. If you want a clean, simple delay that does a copy of what you played for those kind of YouTube sounds. YouTube sounds, The Edge. And of course other big artists. Maybe get the repeater. The repeater can't really replace any of the others, and the others can't really replace the repeater. So, best bang for the buck for you would probably be to get the Reecho and the repeater, but I'm not telling you what to buy. Hey, buy a present for your grandma. I don't care. Don't buy a delay pedal. I'm not getting paid, so, you know, actually get your girlfriend some flowers. Or if you're a girl, get your boyfriend a bottle of beer. If you're a guy and you're gay, get your guy friend a bottle of beer unless he likes flowers. But if you're a lesbian, you might want to get your girlfriend I don't know. Post what you would get your girlfriend if you were a lesbian. I don't know. These things need to be discussed. See ya!